Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. Happy Halloween. It is October 31st. So just a couple quick little housekeeping notes. I was flat wrong when it came to predicting who was going to win the World Series for Stephen and all of the Washington National fans out there. I am delighted that I was wrong. Congratulations on a long overdue win, and a win I think that is probably going to bring a lot of positive energy and happy energy to a place that has really been struggling with a fair bit of negative energy. For those in Houston, I'm sorry, maybe next year. Okay, on that note, Stephen had sent me an email shortly after, I think I got it yesterday, and he was talking about the fact that there had been a real significant shift in the energy, and he was wondering if there was a win that came out of that, would that, or how would that connect to this really significant shift that he felt a game or so ago. And you know what, he asked a really, really valid question, and let me explain really quickly. When you have energy focused on one thing, okay, and the energy is building, and it's building, and more people are thinking the same thing, what you get is, sort of a gravitational pull, and that momentum and that energy builds and builds and builds, and that absolutely does have the ability to bring about a specific result. Now, if you are a light worker, if you work in the light, if that's where your energy is or your thoughts go, then of course you're always encouraged to think positive thoughts and frame everything in a positive light, because frankly, it's just better to surround yourself with light than dark. Think about this. This is the most telling example of this energy manifesting itself. Okay, so the Nationals win is brilliant, and it is an absolute example of that. The other one, though, that comes very quickly to mind is Trump's win. And I'll tell you why. Because instead of people saying a Democrat for president, Hillary for president, Hillary win, people's thoughts were, Trump lose, oh my God, I don't want Trump to win. I don't want Trump to win. He cannot win. He can't. This is the thing. The universe, and I don't know why, but it just is, the universe doesn't seem to hear negatives. So when you pick a negative statement, Trump don't win, the negative gets canceled and you end up with Trump win. And you get all of this floods of energy just not wanting Trump to win. And what you got was the negative getting canceled, and into the White House he went. Is it all of it? Is it all the reasons? Of course it's not. Just energetically from that perspective, it plays a role, and there's a part of it. So always remember, when you're setting up your manifestations or you're trying to draw something for you, your affirmations, you always want them to be a positive statement. You know, there's generations of history about this. You know, how did the war on drugs go? How did the war on poverty go? How did the war on God only knows what go? You can't frame things sort of with negative connotations, and more is certainly a negative word. So remember that when you are creating your thoughts and manifesting. And once again, I am thrilled that I was wrong. Congratulations once again. And honestly, you really, guys in Washington, deserve a reward somehow. All right. Yesterday, before I got sidetracked doing the Kellyanne thing, I was also going to look at Bannon and Stephen Miller. I'm going to look at Stephen Miller first. Okay, and those of you who have watched my channel for a while know that I often mix up Stephen Miller and Stephen King. It's not the people, it's just the last name I kind of. And so this is my reason. It's just, you know, take it or leave it. Stephen King stuff scares me. It truly does. I have a very low threshold for a fear. In fact, when I lower the camera, you'll see that even my pumpkin is smiling, okay? I just don't like that. So, and Stephen Miller is my worst nightmare, I swear. He's a nightmare. So, often in my brain, as I'm receiving information, it's nightmare that I'm thinking, as opposed to the word Miller. So, if I do it, understand that I know I do it. I can even explain why I do it. We'll try real hard, but I can't make no promises. All right, let's take a look at Stephen Miller, the Nightmare. You know, the energy around him gets slimier and slimier, and I don't know, just sort of, you know, don't love it. All right, let's see. Come on down. Boop. There, see, there's my little pumpkin. Keep him in the frame. Okay, so, Stephen Miller intentions. Stephen Miller intentions. Stephen Miller intentions. They're still shrouded. He's a working hard boy. He's a working hard. He comes from a place and a thought process that sadly is really opposite to what the people of America have evolved into and want their country to reflect. You know, that he really, really does have that anti-immigration, if you're not white, you're not right. That whole, you know, we, me are better than you people because you're not what we are. It's a horrible, horrible mentality to walk around in. And I know I have had viewers suggest that, you know, he is reincarnated from the time of Hitler. I'm not going to delve that way, but certainly it wouldn't be shocking to discover that that in fact was accurate. He's working hard behind the scenes. He's being very diligent. He has something that he wants to achieve or rise to. You know, very much in some ways like Kellyanne Conway, right? Where she has an agenda that suits her purpose. And you know what? It's just handy that Trump fits into that agenda. So he is always looking at opportunities. He hears what's being said. He sort of twists it because he very much lives in a bubble. And he has become convinced, and part of it he always thought, and part of it has just, you know, become blown out of proportion with what has been going on in Washington. He really does think that the president is king and ruler, you know, that they're all powerful. So he really does envision presidents cut from the American presidents cut from the same cloth as strongmen, as dictators. You know, he thinks that power should be complete and total. And he still has a warning. He still has several little tricks up his sleeve. You know, start keeping a half an eye on what's going on at the border. You know, new little immigration bits and bobs that are coming through that are not a reflection of how most people would like to see immigration handled. And you have somebody, and I don't know his name, who is currently being vetted or in hearings to become the next Director of Homeland Security. He has a horrendous, he in fact was the same guy who issued the statement about the sick kids needing to leave the country in 33 days, okay? So that's who Trump is trying to put in as Director of Homeland Security. This absolutely plays right into Stephen Miller's agenda, okay? Again, it's like Trump is continually surrounded by people who have their own agenda, and he is just the puppet. And you know what? Honestly, it was disgusting enough when he was Putin's puppet, and it's disgusting enough that he's Xi's puppet, and it's disgusting enough that he's God only know who else's puppet, but he also has puppet or people in his immediate vicinity who treat him as a puppet. And I'm going to say, you know, that includes Miller, and that includes Kellyanne. There are, and to some degree, even Pompeo seems to play him more than not. So, you know, he is surrounded by people that he is easily manipulated by, and, you know, just told another story that he kind of weaves into some sort of a truth. And so what we have is, you know, there's just a lot of negative energy, a lot of really dark stuff going on with Miller. He has his own agendas. He crawls around in the mucky, okay? He crawls around in that negativity, in that sort of whole white supremacist, you know, we are strong and you are other attitude. It is horrible. But make no mistake, the time is going to come where he also is going to find himself left out in the cold. Do I think that he will probably hang in until Trump is either removed or leaves office? Yes, I continue to see him right by his side. But after that, I actually don't see a whole lot of hope coming for him. He's going to try to push this into, you know, a segue into a new, more affluent position going forward in the right-wing circles. He may be able to do it, but for the most part, his cruelty takes it to a place where actually he gets judged by his behavior and his actions, and in some ways people get judged simply by being associated with him. So, you know, there's that. All right. So he's just up to his usual sneaky stuff. He, you know, don't expect that he may get a little bit more notoriety, you know, his name appearing in the press or stuff coming up. But for the most part, he is very, very careful to not step on Trump in any way that Trump might not like. He's very skilled at that. And so, you know, just be mindful of the fact that there's stuff probably going on behind the scenes that we would all shudder if we knew all of it. So he's, you know, he's just going to keep slithering along the halls of the White House. And unfortunately, he really does have Trump's ear. And so that is going to continue to play a role in what Trump hears and knows and understands. And so interesting that, you know, the Six of Pentacles or the quid pro quo card kind of jumped out, because of course that is kind of the dynamic that goes on with these people and Trump. Okay, let's focus in on Bannon, Steve Bannon. What is going on with him? Now, I do know that a few weeks ago, I didn't see it, I just sort of heard about it in passing, that Steve Bannon did some sort of an interview somewhere, and he did sort of say literally, there is no such thing as a deep state, okay? There isn't. It was a made up sort of idea or concept that basically, you know, Trump could latch on to and hang on to. And then, you know, he sort of stepped out of his square and sort of his shadow started to move into Trump's illuminated light, and Trump got all wigged out, and that was the end of Bannon. Okay, so let's just see what he's up to these days. So, Stephen Bannon current, Stephen Bannon current, Stephen Bannon current. Okay, so that's the hangman that just wouldn't slide, so we'll tuck that to the side and see if it has something to say to me. Yeah, okay. So this is the thing, right? He had his moment in the sun. Trump got upset. That was the end of that. He disappeared. Then he toodles himself off to Rome, and he's going to try to convert some many 100-year-old monastery that's on the top of a hill into some sort of a training facility for people of those extreme right-wing thoughts, ideas, and feelings. That didn't work out so well. He got bounced out of the monastery, so he's not there. But he is very definitely kind of maneuvering rather quietly behind the scenes. He still does his best. I mean, there was actually, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I did hear that Bannon was, it was either his ideas or there was some advice offered to Andrew Scheer here in Canada, who of course was the Conservative candidate. So, you know, he's sticking his fingers out there. I kind of see him more like an octopus as opposed to fingers, but you know. And he's you know, meddling here and meddling there, but he really is staying very low key. He's kind of mindful of the fact that, you know what, you really can get stabbed in the back with Trump and the Trump base and that tight inner circle, and he knows it well because he was part of the tight inner circle. So he's being very careful. There are some offers that are being made to him. He's being very mindful about what he looks at and doesn't look at. For right now, I'm really getting the energy in this moment. He really is sort of quiet and not still, but you know, a little battered and bruised. And there we go. And this explains, of course, that interview that he did. He's trying to slowly get people's minds to change a little bit with regards to his own self, right? He doesn't want to be painted with that brush that he has gotten painted with. And now he feels that it's to his advantage to somehow change the narrative a little bit so that he is seen in a more positive light by people who he wants to do business with or associate with. And that was part of the reason for the whole there is no deep state. He is not going to stay in this quiet state for long. I don't know. I'm not being shown how much impact he is going to have on the Trump's re-election, if there is one. But he's definitely going to, you're going to see him surfacing again with a message that is similar, maybe not quite exactly, you know, he's evolved, he's going to say. Not yet. I want to say, like, you know, maybe spring, kind of summer, like in there, where you're going to see him sort of, you know, trying to make the rounds on television or in some other way end up in front of the, you know, the public eye. But as you see, that card after that was the Death card, and now we have the Five of Swords. So it's not a great situation. It's not going to work out so well for him. You know, as the world continues to evolve into a more inclusive and light-filled place, and I know some days it's hard to believe that's going to happen, but it will. People with these old, antiquated ideas about them and us and better and less than and all of that nonsense really are going to be pushed by the side, because the newer generations, by and large, and to a large extent, there's always going to be some apples, in the barrel, but they really are so much more inclusive, and this goes around the world to varying degrees, so much more inclusive than previous generations that have gone before them. They have great clarity about the world that they're inheriting, and they're not real thrilled. And so ideas and attitudes that are divisive, that, politicize problems that shouldn't be politicized, like climate change, like gun control, that energy is not going to stand. And these old dinosaurs are going to experience significant changes of fortune as the world no longer is interested in what they have to say. So it looks like Steve Bannon for right now is being a little quiet. I don't see him doing anything especially. He's starting to creep out again. You're going to see him doing something in a more active or public role going forward. But ultimately, again, that's not going to succeed for him. Okay, super fast. I just want to take a really quick look at how Trump literally is today. I just want to know how he's doing today. He had a couple of days of getting booed. So that kind of is hard on the ego. And now you've got the vote going through, to which he's screaming witch hunt. And apparently the White House put out some sort of a letter basically saying, the president is perfect. This is ridiculous. And he's so far from perfect. There aren't even words. Okay, so I just want to take a quick look at just mentally how he is sort of right in this, in the moment, in today. Okay, I don't even know where he is today. I don't know if he's out, about, hiding, watching television. I don't know. Trump's emotions today. Trump's emotions today. Trump's emotions today. Part of what is really, really going to hang Trump up in this whole process is he has always been able to, in his business life, right? He was always able to, he countersued he sued people, and then he countersued people who were suing him, and he made a lot of fuss, and he got all the publicity on the front end that showed him as a fighter, that showed him pushing back, that, he wasn't going to take nothing from nobody. That was the persona. But quietly, he was settling all of these lawsuits. And so the frame of reference that he is acting from is that, oh, okay, well, wait a minute, I just pushed back really hard and pushed back really hard. That is the message that people get, receive, and stick with, that I'm a fighter. Because he always did that sort of capitulating quietly, all right? So part of it literally is just his thinking. It's the way he thinks. He sees this not as an impeachment. He sees it as a lawsuit. He's not getting the nuances and the fine details. He is in for such a world of hurt. He is not in good shape. He is upset. He is aggravated. He is disappointed. His heart is broken. He wants to know why people are booing him. He doesn't understand that. It was one thing when people in Washington booed him because, Washington doesn't like him. But, oh my God, people in Texas are booing him and they're supposed to love him. And he is just whipped. Okay, just whipped up. He is starting to realize that things that were his strength at one time are not working for him now, but he doesn't have another game to play. I have long called Trump a one-trick pony, and he is. He doesn't know another way. And there could be 100 people lined up saying, Trump, do this way, it will work. He won't do it. He won't listen to them. He's the most stable genius in the room. He does not yet understand that his very victory is on the line because of behaviors connected to international situations, money, etc. So that, you know, sums up the Ukraine thing really nicely, right? And he's still thinking that he can just bully people into believing what he says and not questioning it. It's not working, and very, very slowly, the light bulb is starting to go off in his head. Okay, it's kind of dim right now, but it can get brighter. So that he just doesn't get it. He doesn't understand how serious this is, and that the offers that are going to be coming forward to him in the next little while are not going to be things he's going to want to hear. He doesn't know how to fight back against this, right? Because he's not equipped, and everybody has known that he hasn't been equipped. So again, it's not looking good for him. People are going to actually start turning on him. There is that hardcore base that's not going to budge. But, you know, there is room for a fair amount of movement. And frankly, the numbers keep going up in the polls in terms of not only impeachment, but removal from office. That is really gaining a lot of momentum. And so, you know, there we have it. So, going forward, we're going to take the lesson from the beginning of the video and attach it to the end. Always remember that when you're setting intentions and hopes and prayers, that you send it out in a positive format, that your thoughts about it are positive and encouraging and bright and filled with light, because that which is negative can absolutely manifest, especially if you think you're not manifesting it and you're using those negatives. So, thank you so much for joining me today. Happy Halloween. I hope you have a fun night. I hope wherever you are, the weather isn't terrible. There are some places in Canada where there's some really wicked rainstorms blowing through, and they're actually thinking about postponing Halloween in those cities till Friday night when the bad weather leaves. I've never heard of that before, but climate change, you know, what can you say? Have a good one, people. Until next time, take care, be well, and I'll see you soon. Bye.